All right, welcome everyone to Bet What Happens Live for this Thursday night football matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Currently, the Titans lead the Steelers by a score of 10-7, but the Steelers have the ball in scoring position inside the red zone here. It looks like we're going to be in a third and long situation after the Steelers had too many men on the field penalty, third and goal, but kind of third and long from the 11-yard line. So, Grant, any thoughts real quick while we've got this potential scoring position here for Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh has played a lot better than Tennessee. Score does not show it. Levis, it's tough to fully gauge how good he's doing. I don't think he's actually playing that great for a rookie. He's fine, but last week and this week, he is not as good as it seems. He's making big throws. I mean, he kind of reminds, he might be very good soon, but he reminds me of Josh Allen in his first year. He's got to get some stuff together, get a little bit more refined. Right now, this probably should not be this close of a game.
I agree with you. That first Tennessee drive where they scored a field goal. By the way, speaking of field goals, Pittsburgh kicking a field goal there, Boswell making the field goal, 10-10. First half over hits, which I gave out on Action Island. But that very first Tennessee drive, Pittsburgh committed a lot of penalties, which had all those penalties not happened, Tennessee, there's no chance they score on that first drive. They only resulted in a field goal anyway. So I agree with you. It is now 10-10, Titans versus Steelers. That moves the live total to 40.5 at FanDuel, 39.5 at DraftKings. We talked about this on Action Island. Are we going any unders here? Second half under 40.5. When these two teams are in a close game, they both slow down immensely, especially combined.
Yeah, no, so it's interesting. It's kind of perfect for what we talked about earlier, both teams being tied. The fact that 20 points were scored.
Yep.
The current total in this game is 39.5. And pre-game, like you said, it was sitting at 17.5 second half total. Now it's sitting at 19.5, which obviously not a huge difference realistically. Right. But heavy juice on the over actually. And you take away the penalties and this is not the same game. The penalties have been massive. Yes, there is a potential that this could continue, but realistically, I don't think there's going to be a ton in the second half of this game. And I'm trying to figure out what to bet. I mean, there are some interesting lines here. Derrick Henry, his current line is sitting at 85.5. It looks like that is a little bit interesting. Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren. I mean, we have to assume Pittsburgh's going to keep rushing the ball. The line that really stands out to me right now is Pickens. 22.5 receiving yards is the current line over at Caesars, it looks like at the moment. That to me seems a bit low. I know it's been kind of the Deontay Johnson show, but at some point it's going to change. Titans got the ball beginning of the game, right? No, it was Pittsburgh. So Titans
Titans will start with the ball in the second half is what I meant to say.
Yeah. So it's an interesting spot here. Titans getting the ball. And if they end up scoring, then decent chance that Pittsburgh throws the ball a little bit more. Pickens at 22.5. I want to hear what the model says, but I'm ready to hit that.
So model has 31.25 median receiving yards rest of the game. I really like this. I think the over we should take on Pickens for sure.
Yep, I just hit it.
Big play receiver as well. So we're going to take George Pickens over, what did you say the number was?
22.5. It's sitting
22.5. Yeah, definitely taken over that. 22.5. Let me get this in here as well. So yeah, George Pickens
minus 110 at MGM. So that's the best line is minus 110 at 22.5. But FanDuel has the right line at 26.5, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So if you have BetMGM over 22.5 receiving yards on George Pickens is going to be the bet right now. We have 31, like I said, over 31 median receiving yards for the full game here. I know he only has one catch for 2 yards, but that should change things around. So that's where we're going with our first bet on Bet What Happens Live. Again, any other thoughts maybe on this full game under, or where else you may be looking at player props?
I'm leaning at the full game under right now. I'm probably going to stay away because I've been crushed by unders this year. DeAndre Hopkins, 80.5 receiving yards, currently at 51. Still have the rest of this drive. Titans getting the first drive at the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, let me interject right now. We're gonna take that one over. You said 80.5.
Yep, let's roll.
We're taking that. It's 84 if I flip it over to the second half. So that doesn't count the rest of this half. And of course, the fact that the Titans are starting with the ball. So DeAndre Hopkins over 80.5 receiving yards is our second bet here on Bet What Happens Live. You know, and I even like it above 80.5. If you want to take all the way up to 82.5, something like that, totally fine with that if that's what you have available to you. Because we're showing 84 for full game, plus they still have the ball here, and they're going to get the ball to start the second half.
It just moved to 88.5, 89.5. He probably just got a catch, but
yeah, he's at 4 for 60 now, so he did indeed get a catch as we were talking about that. So you know, and that means we're projecting 93 for full game. So if you want to take over 88.5, if you weren't able to get it in time, still like that, Grant and I are just going to stick with the 80.5 because that's when we gave it out. But if you want to take that over 88.5, still like that. The Titans have the ball now. We're going to start with the ball in the second half. My model says from the start of the second half, he's projected for around 92, 93 receiving yards median. So DeAndre Hopkins over 80.5, over 88.5, if that's available to you because you didn't get it in time. We like those bets.
Yeah, I just realized that on my phone I can see the game. Yeah. I just tried to I timed out, as happens many times, trying to bet Hopkins and then timed out on a different site. I picked the wrong site. We'll put it that way. Picked the site that went down quicker. So then I tried to up at 87.5. All right. Hitting that.
Nice. Yeah. So we got Chad here. Somebody grab Hopkins at 79.5. So by the way, if you are in chat, if you have any questions, leave them for us. We'll be happy to answer. We'll be happy to see what the model says. So right now we have made 2 bets so far. We've taken George Pickens over 22.5 receiving.
I liked his under pregame. I hit it under 25.5. So essentially second half projecting the same amount. I get that that's a little bit more volatile, but
right.
I still kind of like it there.
So Chig Okonkwo, we have, if I tick it over again to the second half, we have 17 median receiving yards, and there's a handful of seconds here.
So if you want to hit this, it's 7.5 at FanDuel,
and we have 17 rest of the game. Yeah, I like that. I think we should definitely take that. I was leaning Chig Okonkwo. I almost took this for Action Island. I almost took his over on receptions, but I decided I like the first half, second half deal a little bit better. So I'm okay with taking Chig Okonkwo over 7.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I just hit him over 8.5. Now I have
8.5.
Yeah, I was going back and forth. The fact that you liked it, I just decided to hit it. But like now, it's worst I can do is lose a couple of bucks. But I have a massive middle.
Oh, and Spears almost grabs a lofted pass there by Levis. So, and you mentioned that, like Levis hasn't looked great, but he's had a couple like floaty passes that have been caught. And this one is a little floaty pass that just went over Spears' head here. So one of those situations where he's made some good throws, but part of it was receivers getting open and part of it was him just floating it up there so that receivers had time to get into the right position. But even this one, Spears couldn't catch. So it is 3rd and 10. And the Titans are running the ball here. So it looks like they're just going to try to take a field goal here and take maybe the 13-10 lead into halftime if they are able to make this field goal.
Yeah, that's about fair. Looking at other lines, I'm trying to see anything that I have a real feel for. Derrick Henry over 8.5 receiving yards. That's interesting. I kind of like that over. He's been targeted a bit. They're trying to do some interesting things. He's had a few dump offs, more dump offs to Spears than anything. But 8.5, interesting line to me. I kind of like the over. I want to hear what the model has to say.
Yeah, so Derrick Henry right now, 2 catches, 4 yards. Rest of game, we have him even, accounting for the fact here that the Titans are favored to win at this point in time based off the live line, and clicking over to the second half, we have Derrick Henry at 13 total receiving yards median.
Hitting it then.
Taking it over on Derrick Henry receiving yards. I like it. So Tennessee does make this field goal to close out the first half. So we are officially at halftime, 13-10. The Tennessee Titans lead the Pittsburgh Steelers 23 points in the first half. The live total, 41.5 at FanDuel, 42.5 at DraftKings. I know we've taken a bunch of overs so far. So the pace splits say we should be taking unders. We've taken a lot of overs on player props. How are you feeling about the total versus a lot of player props overs?
I mean, so again, the total, I'm taking the under. The main thing I'm betting on right now is kind of concentration and deviation from the original line. So
sure,
Pickens is kind of a perfect scenario. We got that, 22.5. His pregame line was sitting at 53.5, maybe moved up to 54.5. So the fact that we got the pregame line at 53.5, you assume halfway through, even accounting for his long touchdown potential, which they're probably over accounting for, or long reception potential, hitting 22.5, we're getting some decent value, assuming all things are even. The total right now is sitting at what? 41.5. So right now they're predicting just slightly over what the pregame second half line was. I think we got the under at like -123 at 17.5, 17.5 being just an arbitrary number because 17 is a likely outcome. So not really a huge difference between 17.5 and 18.5 that it currently is sitting at. So realistically, pretty much the same. So based on that, obviously Pickens very much more in play at a drastically lower line. Chig sitting at 25.5 pregame line, now 8.5. That's about 5 yards of a discount. So all these guys are getting discounts, and then we're clearly seeing now more of a sample size that Levis wants to pass the ball to Hopkins. Add in on top of that, like we're getting basically his pregame line after the amount of receiving yards he's already gotten, and we're getting the Titans getting the ball in the first half. So probably a half extra possession on average over the course of time. So yeah, at a slower rate, but we're getting a massive discount on all these things.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
Let's look at some touchdown props.
Yes.
First one standing out to me is DeAndre Hopkins plus 600 at FanDuel.
DeAndre Hopkins 6-1 at FanDuel. We have him live right now at plus 575. But again, the Titans have the ball to start the second half. So there's some half a drive, like you said, half a drive worth of value there as well. So probably closer to like plus 550, I would say, is fair value. So 6-1, not massive value, but it's definitely value per the model.
I'm hitting it for a quarter unit.
Quarter unit, DeAndre Hopkins, 6-1. Anytime touchdown. Grant liked this one pregame. This is one he gave out on our Action Island show. And now that it is halftime, the Titans have the ball. Grant still likes this. This is a spot where, okay, the Titans are up by 3, but based off of the money line where we're seeing, Steelers at even money, Titans -130 at DraftKings, and pretty much the exact same line at FanDuel, this is pretty much a 50-50 game. Not exactly, but it's 53 Tennessee, 47 Pittsburgh. So there's still a very solid chance that Tennessee ends up having to play from behind very late in this game, which is why DeAndre Hopkins has some hidden anytime touchdown value here. So even though the Titans are leading, they're not going to abandon the throw just because they're up 3, and there's a very real chance they end up behind later in this game. So DeAndre Hopkins, anytime touchdown, quarter unit at 6-1 at FanDuel.
Yep. Looking at other ones, Deontay Johnson, bit of an outlier line, plus 490 over at FanDuel. I mean, I know he hasn't had one since I was in grade school.
Exactly. It's so hard to bet his anytime touchdown. It really is.
I mean, Pickens is sitting at plus 422.
So we're closer on Pickens. We have plus 440 on Pickens, and we have plus 540 on Deontay Johnson. So we're not quite showing value on either of them, especially with them not starting with the ball. So don't think I can really choose these guys. And just to go through the rest of kind of Pittsburgh's concentrated players here, Najee Harris, we're at plus 350. Jalen Warren, we're at plus 475. And
plus
Hayward
550 over at Caesars.
For which one? Warren, plus 550 at Caesars. So plus 475 is what we have him at. I like this because we know he's going to be active in the passing game while they're trailing and while Tennessee has the ball right now, potentially able to increase the lead. So I think Jalen Warren, we could go in on that at plus 550 if you want.
Yeah, I'll do it at quarter unit.
Quarter unit, Jalen Warren, anytime touchdown at Caesars, plus 550. So there is another anytime touchdown bet. So we got our anytime touchdown fix. We got one for Tennessee. We got one for Pittsburgh. Real quick, I was going to say Hayward is at plus 965 for our model here. So I don't know what lines we have available on him, but I was just going to kind of finish out those concentration there on Pittsburgh's top players.
Yep. I'm kind of out on the rest of those Pittsburgh players. I was mostly trusting the model. Looking at the other side, what's it called? Don't have a plus 330 for Derrick Henry. That's a little interesting. No, you have to. I'm trying to find the score 2 touchdowns. Plus 330 over at Fanatics. Looks like it's probably the best overall line. I'm checking out the other spots, but it's interesting.
Yes, no, it is very interesting. He was plus 155 pregame, I think, like at the peak, very end there. So plus 330 is almost double that in terms of like the odds, in terms of the plus number, but it's not exactly the same in terms of like the odds we're getting. So we're not there on Derrick Henry, but it is kind of close.
Yeah, I'm not loving any of these second touchdowns.
I want to look at these passing props because we've got Will Levis at 153 passing yards with Kenny Pickett at 78. Our full game projections for them is Kenny Pickett right at like 198 and Levis at 266.5, but they are starting with the ball in the second half as well. And then as far as interceptions, Pickett 2-1 fair and Will Levis plus 160 as fair.
Yeah, so Levis is currently his line sitting at 246 is the best one, is the lowest one. Depending
245.5 at FanDuel,
Yeah, I think it just moved to 246.5.
Yeah, just did. I'm literally watching it now.
Yeah. Then this is interesting right here. Bet River. Oh, that's just a weird Bet Rivers line. It's 245 up top at 174 for Pickett, but that's not right. Looks like about 190.5 for Pickett. I'm staying away from either of those. I'm not going to blame you. I'm a little bit disappointed with Levis because I was under 200.5, and that last drive went from okay, it's looking all right to nope, I fudged up real bad.
Yeah, and we're not showing like massive value on these either. So if I plug in the actual percentages, so just give me one moment. Kenny Pickett. If I plug in the actual percentages, we're not hitting 60% to the over or the under on either one of these. We're in that close enough to a coin flip range. We're not really beating the juice by that much. So I think in terms of passing yards, probably a good idea to avoid both Pickett and Levis at current lines. Also looking at interceptions, we don't have enough value on either Pickett or Levis to throw an interception. Maybe a little bit on each, but it's, it's pretty small. We have Levis plus 160. Well, I take that back. Levis, we have plus 163 is fair, and the line is 2-1. He's throwing some ducks up there. I'm almost interested in his interception prop.
Yeah,
At 2-1.
I don't hate it. I don't hate. Where's the 2-1 line at?
At FanDuel.
I'll go a half unit on it if you want to.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do half a unit. We'll make a unit if he does throw an interception. And plus they're starting with the ball, so there's extra opportunity by them starting with the ball, because we have about plus 165, like I said, as fair value on Levis to throw an interception, and it's 2-1 at FanDuel. So I do see value there, especially considering some of those floaty passes he's thrown up. There was that one where he was getting sacked and he like lateraled it backward and they called him down. This bunch of weird stuff he's done. So I have no problem with trying to take a little bit of an interception line here.
Yeah, I want to know what you think about the two Pittsburgh running backs receiving props. So Warren currently at 9 yards, his over under sitting at 17.5. Jay sitting at 2.5 right now for receiving yards. I think both of those are potentially interesting. I hit the Warren over pre-game. I thought about going with the Najee Harris at 8.5. Potential game script to them throwing the ball a little bit more. I think both of them are interesting. Obviously, not going to have the ball as much in the second half in all likelihood because they're not starting with the ball. But both of those are kind of interesting props to me.
Yeah. So here's the thing I will say on these guys. We have about 19, I think it is 19 for Jaylen Warren. And then we have Najee Harris at about 5.5.
Yeah. Do you know what the median or
those are the medians? Yeah, those are the medians.
Well, yeah. Sorry, I meant what's the percentage of hitting 2.5?
I see. Okay, so that makes sense. 2.5 receiving yards. We've got pretty much a coin flip, even though the median's higher. It's just because if he catches a pass, it's typically going to be for that amount of distance. Jaylen Warren, what is the line on him again?
19.5, or 17.5.
Oh, sorry, 17.5.
So
17.5, we're showing 55% to the over. So probably not enough there to, again, beat the juice.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to stay away from that. Westbrook Akina, 23.5 is currently his line on receiving yards. He had one big play for 23. Mm-hmm. So, I mean.
Yeah, another one of those spots
what's the percentage
where
you get?
It's just a percentage chance he gets another catch rest of game, essentially. And we're giving that 58.5% for him to grab essentially another catch for positive yards.
I'm not against that, especially considering the Titans
have the ball. Yeah, let's do that. I'm taking it. We're gonna take Nick Westbrook Akine over 23.5 receiving yards for another Bet What Happens live prop. So we got a handful. We got 2 anytime touchdown bets. We've got some receiving overs. And that's kind of where we're looking right now. I don't see a ton of other value out there, not in the anytime touchdown market. We've kind of gone through almost all of the receivers as much as we can. And we've also even looked at the running back props. So I'm not seeing a ton left out there. I know we're just coming out of halftime here. So Grant, unless you have anything else, I think we got plenty of bets.
Yeah, no, I think we're sitting pretty. Again, same thing as always. Come in thinking, I hope I have enough bets here. And then I have enough bets here.
Ideally, we stay under 17.5 in this second half to hit this potential Action Island parlay while still getting at least one of our anytime touchdowns for this second half here. So that would be the ideal scenario. But that is going to do it for Bet What Happens Live for Thursday Night Football. If you appreciated the show, if you got some bets to sweat, hit that thumbs up. Make sure to give it a like. And if you aren't already subscribed, make sure to do so, because we're going to be back here on Monday Night Football for more Bet What Happens Live. But until then, good luck with your bets, everyone, and enjoy the game.